Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right everybody, thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books, or in this case, not a lot of comic books, and I'll let you know what I thought about them. Last new comic book day, last week, huge. This week, very tiny, but we deserve this, right? I guess this is the comic book industry's gift to us as fans. For going so many weeks in a row, buying so many awesome comics. This week they give us a small collection, like no DC books out this week. Anyway, we always start with the pick of the week. This week's pick of the week, East of West number 45. This is the final issue of East of West. Now, if you've been following this channel, if you've been watching the weekly comic book review for 3 years now, right? You know that this is one of my favorite books, but I fell off of it, right? It started being a little bit more infrequent. It jumps around the story. There's so many different pieces, so many different characters, so many different plots going on that I kind of fell behind, right? But when the last issue was announced to come out the day after Christmas, man, I had to get caught up. So needless to say, I have gotten caught up, y'all, okay? I got caught up this weekend. Anyway, East of West number 45, the pick of the week. What a splendid, fantastic final issue. What an ultimate culmination of everything. Jonathan Hickman, Nick Dracota, Frank Martin. Seriously, comic books just don't get better than this. This is one of the best books, and I know I haven't been following it, and it hasn't been coming out that often. So a lot of people that are newer to the channel may have never really heard me speak on this book, but East of West may just be one of the absolute best comic books of the decade. In fact, people have been asking me to do a top 10 of the decade. Maybe I will, if I can find the time. We'll see. Maybe we'll do it on a live stream or something. Anyway, so don't ever sleep on those live streams on Sunday night. East of West number 45 was amazing. I'm so glad I caught up just in time for this book. It's just a great ending. You know, nailing and sticking that ending on a comic book series can be difficult, especially when it's 5 or 6 issues. What if it's 45, right? Jonathan Hickman's been writing this book for several years now. Nick Dracota's been doing such an amazing job on the artwork. Frank Martin, people have been sleeping and leaving his name off of some of the best colorists in the industry. Martin's absolutely one of the best. This is such a fantastic ending. If you've been loving East of West, I think you're going to dig the ending. If you've never read East of West, I highly encourage you to do so. I think it's Jonathan Hickman's best work. Period. This basically, it's an interpretation of the book of Revelation from the Bible in a way. It's about the apocalypse. It's about the end times. You got the 4 horsemen. You got death versus the other 3 horsemen. You get all these different nations kind of warring it out. It all comes together. It's very political. It's got a lot of nuance to it, lots of characters, lots of moving parts that have all come together meticulously well. And Hickman and company have been laying out the groundwork for this finale for the last several issues, but it all comes to a head here, and it's a satisfying conclusion. It's a necessary conclusion, and it may not be the conclusion that we wanted, but it's what we deserved. Anyway, East of West number 45, pick of the week from Image Comics, out this week. Also from Image Comics, we got a new issue of Criminal number 11. Fantastic issue, yet again. Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips and company have been just killing it on these Criminal books. Like I've said before, I never read Criminal before this newest run. I don't feel lost. I'm right into it. I'm loving it. Criminal number 11 is the start of a conclusion to a story that's been built up to, and it was done very masterfully. And that's what's really cool about Criminal. Brubaker, Phillips, and Phillips, the colorists, they are absolute masters at what they do, and that's crime noir in comic book form, and it's amazing. Criminal number 11, out this year, out this week. In fact, of the year, Criminal didn't make my top 10 comics of the year, but it definitely would have made my top 20. Criminal has been on fire this year, and there was a 2-issue arc in issue number 2 and 3 called Bad Weekend. That's one of the best comic books of the year. Absolutely. Let's jump to Marvel, because Marvel's got some releases this week, including Incoming number 1, written by a whole bunch of different writers and illustrated by a whole bunch of different artists. It's mostly written by Al Ewing. It's a $10 comic book. And what Incoming is it is a teaser for upcoming Marvel stories in 2020. So if you're a super Marvel zombie, if you can't wait to know what's going on in all the books, if you just want a snapshot of where Marvel is right now and where they're building up into in their individual titles, check this out. There are also seeds planted for the first event of 2020 for Marvel, which is going to be called Empire, which is written by Al Ewing, we believe. It's kind of like a Kree Skrull thing. There's some interesting developments. So if you're really into the Kree Skrull stuff, I would encourage you to pick this up. If you're the most hardcore Marvel fan, you're not buying anything else out this week, I would recommend this. For most of us, though, I would say this is skippable. This is passable. Seriously. It's okay. It sets up things like Zdarsky's Daredevil. That's cool. But if you're reading Daredevil, it's not necessary. It sets up the future Fantastic Four. But if you've been reading Fantastic Four, it's not necessary. It does pick up on that masked Raider thing that was done in the 1000, the Marvel Comics 1000, Al Ewing laying some seeds there. It picks up on that just a little bit, but barely anything. I would highly more so encourage everybody to go check out this book and just kind of flip through it and see what happens, in particular involving the Kree Skrull stuff. This is mostly just set up, though, for future Marvel things to come. And not really just for all of 2020, but really kind of just for the beginning of 2020. So the Empire setup is kind of interesting. The Venom bit in here is probably my favorite. There's a really cool bit that Donny Cates does, leading into what's coming up in Venom. But this is basically a snapshot where Marvel is right now and what's coming. I don't think it's super necessary. It did not engage me. It felt rather boring. Certain parts felt better than others. That's just how it goes with these things. I know it's a light week. That's why they put this out this week, because it's $10 and they think you'll be more likely to check it out because of that. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. What I did like, though, was Venom number 21. So Venom number 21 starts Venom Island. And I've been seeing some misunderstanding out there in the comic book community. This is not the start of a new event or anything like this. This is just the next story arc in Venom, right? So Absolute Carnage is over, and now where are we going? What's the direction now for the whole symbiote, Venom, Eddie Brock, Dylan Brock type stuff? What's going on there? Donny Cates is joined by Mark Bagley, right? Mark Bagley is, like, to me, the best Venom artist that ever was. So anytime Mark Bagley's jumping on, I'm down. Mark Bagley's also a super cool dude. I actually met him a couple years ago at the Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo. Super cool dude. Really liked him. I love his artwork. I'm right there with you, Jim Mint, about how Mark Bagley's work is not quite as good as it was today as it was back in the day. Mark Bagley's getting older, but he's still able to crank these books out. He's still a very prolific artist, and I still like it, right? So this one is not going to be Bagley of old, right? He's got a new rushed kind of style, but it's still very similar. You can tell it's Bagley, but I like it, right? So they've already announced this in official solicitations or whatever, so I can go ahead and say Venom Island is a reference to the island from that Amazing Spider-Man run. It was David Michelini. It was Eric Larson, I believe. It was like the second Venom story ever. He kidnaps Spider-Man, takes him to this island somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, and Spider-Man convinces Eddie that he has killed him, and so Eddie's just content to live on that island. Right? All he cared about was killing Spider-Man, right? And then he leaves the island when he first hears about Carnage, right? So there you go. Anyway, we're going back to that island. This is a great follow-up to Absolute Carnage. I do like Bagley's artwork, but what Donny Cates is doing with this story, it feels really cool the way it spins out of Absolute Carnage. There's something inside of Brock that he's dealing with more than just his symbiote. Something interesting going on there. The drama between him and Dylan, it's exciting to me. I like it. Venom Island is going to be a fun little story. I'm excited, and I'm really excited to see Donny Cates, who was the best writer on Venom ever, work with Mark Bagley, who was the best artist on Venom ever. So Venom Island is out this week. It's Venom number 21. Peter Porker, the Spectacular SpiderHam. Number 1, Zeb Wells. Art by Will Robson, Eric Arciniga on the coloring. This book was okay. I'm a huge SpiderHam fan, I should say. When I was a kid in the 80s, I collected up that series. I loved it. I loved it when he appeared in What The. There was a What The issue where it was like the SpiderHam of 2099. It was Pickwell O'Hara. Love that kind of shit, right? SpiderHam, this is the first part of a 5-issue miniseries. It's okay. I feel like you're going to like this a little bit better if you're more of a Spider-Verse fan, right? It really does pick up on Spider-Verse. It has some interesting ideas. The artwork's pretty decent. I love how it reprints the original origin. I love those old school 80s SpiderHam books. I just think they're absolutely amazing. It's a nostalgia thing, right? I love that book back in the day. Anyway, this is a decent follow-up to that. You know, if you're a super huge, hardcore SpiderHam fan like I am, maybe you should pick it up. But even me, I was like, it's okay, but it's way more tied into Spider-Verse. If you're a Spider-Verse person, definitely check it out. One of the cool things is that all the other heroes in SpiderHam's universe now are so tired of him always talking about, oh, this is just a tiny little threat here. I gotta go and I gotta save the multiverse, you know, with the Web Warriors. So why am I worried about Doctor Doom, you know, here in our universe? And so it's kind of fun. It's interesting. I did like that kind of bit. So it was okay, but even in a light week, this was just an okay book. If it was a bigger week, this would definitely be something passable. But if you're a Spider-Ham fan, and especially if you're a Spider-Verse fan, maybe worth checking out. It's funny, it's silly, right? It is what it is. Doctor Strange, Surgeon Supreme, #1. So this is a new launch of Doctor Strange, but it's still written by Mark Waid, which means it's not really so much a new launch as it is a new jumping on point, right? So something happened in the last issue, in the last arc of Doctor Strange, where I guess now he gets his facilities back for his hands, right? Because Doctor Strange, you know, he wrecked his hands in a car wreck. He was a gifted surgeon, so he had to turn to mystic arts or whatever, right? So now it seems like his hands are fixed. Now he's going back to being a surgeon, and he's also still the Sorcerer Supreme. So it's a little bit like House. It's like a magical version of House. And it was interesting and it was okay. Kev Walker's is actually some better Kev Walker artwork that I know of. I'm not usually the biggest fan of his artwork. Mark Waid, though, you know, if you liked the Doctor Strange series from before, get into it, check it out. It's the next part of the story. If you're trying to jump onto something new, I don't know. It didn't really do much for me. I thought it was okay. It was decent. It was average. But it just didn't really do much for me. Like I said, I'm not usually the biggest Kev Walker fan, though I would say that this is some of his best work lately. I love House, the TV show. Hugh Laurie, such an amazing performance. So it's kind of like that, but it just didn't really do much for me. I don't know. That's just me. And finally, let's talk about this one. Killlock #1 from IDW. This one is written and illustrated by Livio Ramondelli. Right? And apparently that's one of the artists on Transformers. And I've heard good things about some of the artists on the recent Transformers books. I'll tell you this, the artwork in this book is amazing. Story, though, didn't really do much for me. It's like 4 or 5 of these like robots, artificial intelligence, and they're like criminals or something. And instead of a prison, they're on this like planet. And there's I don't know. The artwork was great, but the story didn't really do much for me. At first, it seemed like it was really going to grab me. I was like, it was very captivating at first, and then it just lost me about a third of the way through, so I can't really say too much nice things about Killlock. I thought it was okay. I really think out of all these books this week, I liked the Venom, I loved the Criminal, and I absolutely adored East of West. East of West is the pick of the week by far. Such a great series, one of the best series of the decade. If you've never read East of West, I highly encourage you to do so. It's a light week this week, so if you got a small stack, enjoy it, or check out something that you haven't checked out before. For instance, there's some great vault trades out right now. These Savage Shores, Spherescape, Friendo, Wasted Space, all of those have made it on the top 10 list of the year for me. And also just some other great stuff from other companies. Check out Midnight Vista from Aftershock. Check out Dark Arc from Aftershock. Check out Mountain Head. Check out The Plot and Maul from Vault. Check out some new stuff. You know, if you got a light week, either take a break and enjoy it or check out something new. I think this is one of those weeks definitely to check out something new. And if you've never read East of West, which is just the pick of the week and a great conclusion to the series, I highly encourage you to pick that up. In fact, if you've never read East of West, I would go into my comic shop this week. I would recommend you to skip Incoming and buy East of West Book 1. You will not regret it, I guarantee you. Anyway, that's been the weekly comic book review. It's a light one, so thank you guys so much for joining us every single week for the weekly comic book review for this year and 2018 and 2017. And we started in 2016. We've been going for a while now. Every single week, we really do appreciate it. We're going to continue to do so in 2020. Thank you so much for your support and for following this channel. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Join us over at popculturephilosophers.com for podcasts and a whole lot more. You can support the channel financially in a multitude of ways. Most importantly, you can get on patreon.com/PCP, help us hit our goals, get a new camera, things like that. We really do appreciate all the support. I'm flabbergasted by it, actually, to be honest with you. So anyway, happy holidays from all of us here at Pop Culture Philosophers. We appreciate everybody stopping by last night for the Festivus 2019 live stream, by the way. Me, Jelani Brooks, think about doing something like that again soon. If you want to see something like that, let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, what are you reading? What's your favorite books of the year? Let us know in the comments down below. Let's keep this conversation going. Everybody have a happy holiday and a happy new year, and we'll see you very, very soon. In fact, there will be a live stream this Sunday night, Rockin Robbie Live, 7 p.m. U.S. Central Time, Sunday night, so be sure to join us for the last live stream. In fact, the last video of the year, probably. So, I don't know. Thank you guys so much. Really do appreciate it. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading.